All right, welcome to day 5 in the Whiskey Vault. I'm Daniel Whittington. So today I have a little bit of a rant, and I'll try to keep it short. But Chris Maddock, one of our whiskey instructors who instructs on writing in the whiskey school and is heavily involved in Wizard Academy, actually one of our department heads in Wizard Academy, which is the business school. And he and I have been sort of commiserating / laughing / silently weeping into our glasses about the sad state of whiskey descriptions. Because they're just the worst. They're the worst. I mean, just go down to a liquor store and pick up at random any whiskey bottle off the shelf and turn it around and look at whatever that asshat marketer they put in charge of writing in the back of the bottle put on that thing. It is an absolute violation of everything that is a marker of good writing, good descriptive writing. Just way superfluous adjectives, or should I say, extremely long, painful, and ridiculous superfluous adjectives. How's that for irony for you? It's bad. It's really bad. And I almost want to pick one out at random and just show you how bad it gets. But they're either really stupid or they're so generic that they're useless. Right? When you say something like aged in wood, well, of course we know it's fucking aged in wood. It's a whiskey. It's supposed to be, right? Or it's Scotch that's aged in bourbon casks. Well, join the damn club. So is almost all of the whiskey in Scotland. That is useless information. I mean, you may need to put it somewhere to meet your requirements of, hey, yeah, these are the barrels for the nerds, right? But if you're going to truly write a description, come on, give me something. And this is a whiskey I was really excited to get. So this is going to lead me into my rant. If you think you saw the rant, you haven't seen the rant. This is Mackmyra, and I feel like I'm pronouncing it wrong because I'm going for the Scottish pronunciation. But they're Swedish, so who knows how they say this. Mackmyra. But anyway, it's a Swedish single malt, and they have a really cool story. And I was able to get some for the first time into the vault. It took me forever. I actually contacted the distillery, said, hey, I desperately want to buy some of your whiskey and put it in our vault. How do I get it? And they basically said, don't know. I'm like, well, that's unhelpful. So, and then one of our students was traveling on a cruise somewhere, and they were in the duty-free shop, and they found 3 bottles of the Mackmyra, and it's not this one. And so I had them buy all 3 and bring them back for us. And it was great. It was a great whiskey. I mean, it wasn't one of my favorites, but it was just a damn good whiskey. They did a great job. And so this one, and I have no idea how to pronounce this, Svensk Ek. If anyone watching this knows how to pronounce Swedish, then Svensk Ek? I have no idea. I went onto the website to try to figure out what this one was, and essentially this was their first edition whiskey, which is evidently what that means in Swedish. So I was excited to try it, and I'm still, and again, my rant has nothing to do with the quality of the whiskey, but I went on the website and I read the write-up on this whiskey, and it was bad. Just bad writing. And I got to the end, and they made this statement, and I went, this is the antithesis of everything we teach at the whiskey marketing school, in that it's trying to display a true inherent weakness as some kind of novel, unique attribute. So the sentence they said at the end of it was vaguely, look, and we do the rare choice of aging our whiskey in smaller barrels, thus increasing the ratio of wood to grain. Okay. Now, yes, that's true. If you use a smaller barrel, you do increase the ratio of wood to grain. Right? But it's disingenuous, I think. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with using small barrels. I'm going to be personally using small barrels for probably the first 2 years when we launch our distillery in the next 6 months or so. So I'm all for small barrels. I have no problem with small barrel aging. But my point is, It's crappy marketing to pretend like a flaw is not a flaw. It's disingenuous, and it makes people stop trusting you. It's a horrible mistake, right? The best thing to do when you have something that could be considered a weakness is to just say up front, here's our weakness, and but here's why we're okay with it, right? So if I was doing Mackmyra, here's what I would say. I would say, because we're a newer distillery, we are using smaller barrels because it speeds up the reaction, the interaction with wood and whiskey, thus giving you a sort of a faster age and a shorter amount of time as far as interaction with wood, right? Now, what everybody who drinks whiskey knows is there's certain things that time, you can't cheat, and time is one of them. And there's a difference between a lot of interaction with wood and getting a dark whiskey really fast and whiskey that has time to mature and sit in a barrel for 12 years. There just is a difference. There is a difference. You cannot argue that one. And so most people's complaints with the small barrels is that you have to take it out quick because you can over barrel them. The wood can just kind of get too much if you leave it in there too long, right? So if I was writing it for them, what I would say was, look, we use smaller barrels to get aging a little bit quicker so that we can get these whiskeys out to you. Now, we're aging some larger barrels, but one of the things that we have found with our whiskey is the smaller barrel results in this kind of whiskey. And while it lacks the kind of long time influenced nuance that something in a larger cask would give you, it results in some really wonderful flavors. See what I mean? So you say, look, I know we're using smaller barrels, and I'm not going to pretend like it's for any reason other than, you know, hey, it ages it faster. Or at least I'm going to admit, yes, it does age it faster. It means we can get a whiskey out the door in 6 to 12 months instead of 6 to 8 years. But yes, absolutely, it's a flavor choice, right? But this wouldn't be the case if it was something that was purely a flavor choice, and you can call it purely a flavor choice. So again, I don't know what their intentions are. It could be that their master distiller has a firm belief in young and new oak and small barrels, or small barrels. I don't know if they're doing new oak, but small barrels. Maybe he firmly believes that's the best whiskey in the world. But you can't ignore the fact that the entire industry looks at that thing a certain way. Right? You have to acknowledge that reality. To pretend like it's not true is to seem totally out of touch with the environment that you're in. Now, you can say, look, I know what people say about this. I don't care. Right? It creates a whiskey I think tastes great, so screw you guys. So I would be fine with that copy. But the copy is just, it's too... it's the kind of thing that a committee would approve because it sounds safe and it admits no flaws. But admission of a flaw is one of the greatest things you can do in communicating with the public. We don't like our heroes to be perfect. We like our heroes to be flawed and yet overcome them. So that's all I'm going to say about that. How was that for... I haven't even drank the whiskey yet, for crying out loud. It annoyed me so much. Oh, that's very different than the last two. And by the way, you notice it's another day. I'm still wearing the same thing. That's because I did 3 videos, notice. I like it. It took me a second because I was trying to think of what to say. And what I think is that it's definitely young, and the new oak reminds me of a lot of the flavors I find in the North American single malts that are using new oak. It's a beautiful whiskey. Nothing wrong with it. Not my favorite flavor profile as far as preferences go, because really that's all that is a thing. There are these hints of kind of anise. I wonder if so they're using Swedish oak to age their whiskey. Yeah, it feels young, but not in a negative way. It just, man. So whoever created the Master of Malt Advent calendar for this year, they really grouped three together that are remarkably similar in their experience. And so I'm having a hard time coming up with new words for saying the same thing that's happened to me twice now, which is it's not smoky. I mean, it is, but there's not a lot of smoke in it. It's not got the spiky smokiness that Killam and Wolfburn had, but it has that same kind of lightness. How is that for descriptive? Lightness. This is why everyone needs an editor. Yeah. All I'm going to say is I get the same grass notes. I get the kind of caramels. And I think that Swedish oak is imparting something that I can't quite put my finger on or define. And I know I can. There's something different there. And I'm attributing it to the Swedish oak. It may not be the Swedish oak. I wouldn't know because I've never tried anything else that was aged in Swedish oak. If there even is anything else aged in Swedish oak. But I can't put my finger on how to describe it. Can't do it. It's different. It's unique. It's really good. If I could do anything close to this and we started a distillery, I would be very proud. They should be proud of this whiskey. They just need to hire better writers. And that's why we're the Whiskey Marketing School. Because this is the kind of thing that we try to teach all of our sommeliers, is how to talk about these things, how not to fall into the traps of trite and cliche and superfluous adjectives. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Mackmyra. I wish I could get my hands on everything you offer because you guys are doing a great job. I'm glad you're in the Whiskey Advent Calendar. And guys, I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.